with phase.
Hey everybody, how's it going? We're live. Frantic times on the Ben Joravsky Show. Who's this guest? Oh, switch him. Put him in here. Oh, okay. We're good, though. We have a show for you today, everybody.
I was just tying my shoe, D. It was such a frantic time, I didn't get to tie my shoes.
Well, over, under, in, and out. That's what tying's all about.
Whoa. What? Did Aunt Edna teach you that?
My aunt's name is Cindy.
Oh, wasn't there an Edna somewhere?
Uncle Eldon.
Oh, yeah. That's sorry. I turned Eldon into Edna, and I turned an uncle into an aunt. Oh, that host. Senility is kicking in.
How's it going, everybody? Live stream chat. What is happening? Yes, Ben, you have a Song of the Day request from Frank, and we'll get to that. But first, we need to thank the Chicago Reader for hosting the Ben Joravsky Show. ChicagoReader.com. Subscribe to the Chicago Reader for all things there is to know about this crazy city of ours. The Chicago Reader, ChicagoReader.com. Go check it out. And, of course, today's Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. Nice job on the mute button. All right, here we go. Your Song of the Day comes from Frank. It is from, wait, let me see here. Carl Carlton, Everlasting Love.
Oh, my God. Frank, one of the greatest songs of the 60s. Maybe it's early 70s. I'm not quite. Oh, here I stand in joy. Da, 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 da. Everlasting love. Come on. Dennis is like, here we go. You should see him. He loves this song. Remember, Frank, whenever this song comes on the oldie station, I crank it up. Here I stand in joy. Everlasting love. And then the chorus. Come on, D. Everlasting love forever.
I've never heard the song in my life.
That cannot possibly be true.
Well, maybe I need someone to sing it better. Maybe I'd recognize it.
You know what? I think we should play it, and then when the lawyers call us, just send it over to Jimmy Coogan. How about that? Hey, our ace attorney or El Dragon. We got so many lawyers in this show. We could just send it over to one of them when they send us a cease and desist. How about that? Don't you think that's a good idea?
That's a horrible idea.
Okay.
Oh,
it's not COVID. I'm just laughing.
The Ben Joravsky Show starts now. It is Thursday, December 17th, and live from my apartment and his attic, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, it's the alderman of the 25th Ward, the one, the only. We call him BSL, and no we don't. Byron Sigcho-Lopez. And now your host. What's so funny?
Just all of a sudden we call him BSL. I'm going to start calling him BSL.
Chicago Reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this Baby Donnie Thursday, and here's why. Well, folks, I got to say this. I've got to give the Trumps credit. The fundraising messages just keep pouring in, even though the Trumps lost the last election. And the messages come not just from the Daddy Trump, you know, the king of the con man. He just sent me one earlier today saying I'm one of the lucky ones who was personally selected for the honor of contributing money to him. And I could see MAGA people all over America going, honey, we won the right to give money to President Donnie. Quick, write a check. That was yesterday. A fundraising appeal came the other day. No, the new one came from Baby Donnie, also known as Donald Trump Jr., had a picture of him and everything in the fundraising appeal. For a second, I thought he was wearing a mask. And then I realized it was just his beard. Like, could a Trump be actually wearing a mask? No, not impossible. Anyway, Donnie Trump Jr. wrote, and I quote, friend, you, all caps you, won't want to miss this. That's the introduction, folks. I love it when Donnie Jr. calls me friends. It's like we really are friends, and maybe we can go to a baseball game together. I'm sure he loves the Cubs. Doesn't Donnie Trump Jr. seem just like the type of bro-like character who would love Wrigley Field? Hey, dude, let's have a beer and a brewski, dude. Hang out at Wrigley, man, with the Ricketts. So with the Cubs, as long as the Ricketts own them.
Well, as much as I do like the baseball team, Donald Trump Jr.'s got Cardinals fan written all over him.
I don't think so. I think he's more of a Cub fan. Anyway, well, maybe we could just hang out one day and go shopping at the mall. Hey, Donnie, let's go buy some shirts, my friend. Anyway, back to the fundraising appeal. Quote, my father just signed, and it got signed, capital S, capital I, capital G, capital N-E-D, all caps, like it's really going to pound in my head. My father just signed one of our Make America Great Again hats, and it's all in bold. And he wants to send it directly to you, and the U is all caps. And I'm thinking, wow, my very own signed by Daddy Donnie mega hat. How have I lived this long without one? But wait. It's not that easy to get it. So on I read, quote, my father is only offering this opportunity to a small group of his most loyal, and loyal is all caps, supporters, the ones who've been there for him since day one, all caps, and he immediately thought of you, all caps. That's kind of funny. Why, of all the people in the world, Donald Trump would think of would be me. I mean, I am not a supporter of Donald Trump, much less one of his most loyal supporter, much less one of his most loyal supporters who's been there since day one or any day. I can't stand the guy. I'm still not certain how I got on this freaking email list to begin with. And an email list that, folks, let me remind you, delivers up to 20 shakedowns an hour. Back to Baby Trump's message, quote, this is your last, all caps, chance to win a signed, all caps, Make America Great Again hat from President Trump this year. Don't miss out on this opportunity to win, all caps, this incredible piece of history, end of quote. Now that is classic Trump. Telling me this is my last chance, even though I have a sneaking suspicion that within, another 30 minutes or so, I'll get another email just like it, telling me it's my last chance. There's always one last chance to throw away my money on MAGA junk. And what do I have to do to win the right to get a personally signed Make America Great Again hat? Why, I think you know that answer, ladies and gentlemen. Give money. Quote, hurry. This is all in bold, by the way, because this is the really important part of the message. Hurry. Contribute any amount immediately. Any amount immediately is all in caps to win your very own signed Make America Great Again hat from your favorite president. I have half a mind just to send in a penny. I mean, they said any amount immediately. Wouldn't it be cool, D, to have my own personally signed Make America Again hat from Donnie John Trump? I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I think you're really liking those emails.
And
you can just decline and, have them stop sending them to you.
D, think about this. This would be a great test. If I sent a check for 1 cent to the Make America Great Fund, would they cash it? That would be unbelievable. Have Donald Trump's name on the endorsing at the back of the check, signing it personally. That would be even more valuable than the hat. Anyway, hurry, contribute any amount to win your own very signed Make America Great Again hat from your favorite president. My favorite president. That's tough. Got to ask myself, who is my favorite president? Then I got to break it down. Favorite president in office or out of office? Out of office, it's Jimmy Carter, hands down. In office, it would have been LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, but there was that Vietnam War thing. So I guess, let me think about all the candidates in my lifetime. Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Billy Clinton. I guess I got to go with Barack Obama. But the bar is low. The bar is very low. But I can tell you this, my favorite president is definitely not Donald Trump. Meanwhile, up in the U.S. Senate, Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin is holding hearings. About the same time I got this email shakedown from Donald Trump Jr., I was reading about Ron Johnson's hearings into whether Joe Biden stole the election. Let me remind you once again, there's not a shred of evidence to support the notion that the election was stolen. But that doesn't stop Ron Johnson from making the claim and doesn't stop Senate Republicans from holding a hearing. They just keep repeating it over and over and over again. It's like they think if they keep saying it enough, they'll gaslight Democrats into buying it. And I can see how it works. That's generally how they keep pushing. They push this to discourse to the right, to the right, to the right. And Democrats are like, okay, yeah, maybe there was some theft, but come on, there was probably theft when Bush won. That's how Democrats work. Come on, Democrats, you got to be smarter than that. But generally, they fall for this kind of stuff. So that's why the MAGA keeps pushing it, pushing it, pushing it. And that is why I insist that every time someone like Ron Johnson or Rand Paul or Donald Trump Jr. or any one of these MAGA lovers says that the election was stolen, I have to come right back and say, there is not a shred of evidence to substantiate anything you say. You're just making it up. You're fantasizing excuses to appease the MAGA cultists who have been conned by the ultimate con man into believing that Donald Trump cares about them. The very same Donald Trump who's still out there raising money by selling autographed hats to suckers. Now, I have lots of experience, ladies and gentlemen, with gaslighting politicians, having covered in politics in Chicago for all these years. It's very similar with Chicago politicians when they say over and over and over again things like TIFs don't raise taxes, even though of course they do. How else would the program work if it didn't raise taxes? But that doesn't stop Chicago politicians from saying it. TIFs don't raise taxes. TIFs don't raise taxes. And I keep saying, yes, they do. Yes, they do. You got to be stubborn, folks. Otherwise, they'll just run right over you. So apparently, Donald Trump's not the only con man in politics. We have a few in Chicago, but he's probably the most effective. We got a great show today, everybody. Yes, indeed. Alderman Byron Sigcho-Lopez will be here at 2 o'clock.
BSL.
And you know what we'll be talking about is confrontation with Lori Lightfoot, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, yesterday at the city council meeting about Anjanette Young and the videotape that the city of Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot's administration released, kicking and screaming and fighting all the way. At the order, it was released of a federal judge. Now it's like making new stories every day, D, as to what the mayor knew and when did she knew it and did she know what her law department was up to, or was this whole thing an operation of rogue lawyers in the law department? Anybody who dares to ask her a question is chastised, criticized, yelled at, finger wagged at. God, could you imagine what she would do to Dr. D? Dr. D raises a question. Don't you ever.
Listen, Baldy. All right.
Anyway,
you're kind of getting into that. You're kind of getting into the first story. You're getting into the first story here. Throw it to me. Throw it to me.
I'm just all fired up about this story. Anyway, without further ado, the man, myth, the legend, pride and joy of all Illinois, the man that Byron Sigcho-Lopez and Lori Lightfoot call the doctor with the news.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Dennis. Let's talk about what's happening in Chicago and or Illinois this afternoon. We begin in Chicago and with the story, as Ben was talking about, Miss Anjanette Young. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and Fran Spielman. A shaken and furious Mayor Lori Lightfoot on Wednesday apologized to Anjanette Young for the botched police raid on the wrong house in 2019 that humiliated an innocent Anjanette Young and prompted police officers to handcuff her naked. The mayor's apology came on a day that also saw an outraged Young speaking outside CPD headquarters and members of the city council confronting her over the raid and demanding hearings and investigations. Remember, Lightfoot said she first learned of the February 2019 incident captured on body cam video when we all first learned, 2 days ago, Tuesday, when WBBM TV Channel 2 aired the video as part of its extensive reporting on botched police raids. A lot of people are finding that hard to believe, by the way. And according to the mayor, and by the way, here's where those people may have a point, she also first learned on Tuesday that her own law department had taken actions to prevent Channel 2 from airing the video.
By the way, were you reading Fran's article word for word? Fran said that, or did you say that? A lot of people are having it hard.
No, that was me. That part was me.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I can't imagine something like that in a Sun Times story, but it's true.
Oh, well, thanks for shattering my dreams of being a Sun Times writer.
I mean, it's true. I mean, no, that's pretty out. That's something like a Ben Joravsky would write. Nobody believes it. No, that's not true. Let me amend this. There are Northsiders, my beloved Northsiders. You know, Ben, she apologized. You really got to go easy on the mayor. Northsiders have this thing for mayors. I just will never understand it. The love, the adoration they have for all powerful mayors who say one thing one day and something else the next day. And Northsiders are like, yeah, well, I like what she said today, so just ignore what she said yesterday. So maybe Northsiders are convinced by the apology. I got a text from, well, the guy's not a Northsider. I'll leave his name out. I don't want to embarrass him. But he goes, Ben, Lori apologized. Well, okay, that ends that. Good thing. Good thing she apologized. Whew. By the way, if you really want to hear someone do a riff, and I mean a big time riff on Lori Lightfoot and her ever-shifting stories on what she knew and when she knew it about Anjanette Young and the police raid in which they handcuffed a naked woman, handcuffed behind her back, ladies and gentlemen. Then just one more time, just to let you know how horrific this was. It was like well into the raid as she was standing there with her hands handcuffed behind her, utterly humiliated, naked, all these men running, these cops, most of them men. There was one woman cop I saw. I don't know if she was there from the outset of the raid or they called her in when they saw there was this naked woman. Well, maybe a good idea to bring a woman in here. Anyway, all these strangers running around her house. Someone said, oh, yeah, maybe we should let her get dressed. So they obviously unhandcuffed her long enough to put a T-shirt on and maybe some pants. And then they put the handcuffs on again. Like, it's one woman. And like, I don't know, a dozen cops who are armed have like things they can hit you over the head with. Like, why do you have to handcuff her again? And she's screaming, it's not my house. You were in the wrong house.
Ben, hang tight. We're definitely going to edit this out. Someone's calling our show, and I don't know how to answer the damn phone. All right. Hold on, Hank.
I can't even hear it.
Oh, well, I'm sure the listeners can. Well, if not, people on the download can. So just hang tight here. Guys, call whenever, I guess, but try not to between 1 and 3 p.m. Central Time. Maybe we're getting rid of this phone number in the new year. Okay, we're good now, Ben. Go ahead.
All right. So, yeah. If you really want to hear someone riff on this ever-changing mayoral take on this horrific police raid, I urge you to listen to Maze Jackson, the interview we did yesterday. A radio personality, Maze Jackson. He's harder on the mayor than I am. But yes, she apologized. This has all the trappings of one of those PR disasters where the mayor's PR team says, Mayor, this is not looking good. We got to do something about this. The reality is her instincts were going to go into a different direction. Her instincts were to counterattack. They were like, I hate to say it, they reminded me of Trump. The instinct, you get criticism, and then you just lash out at the people who dare to criticize you. The lawyer, the media, and Anjanette Young. And I will just repeat this. I'm going to read this. Every guest who comes on this show is from Chicago, has to take the Lori Lightfoot test. Dennis, have you taken the Lori Lightfoot test yet?
No, I haven't. Lucky me, right?
Maze, I know Dennis like, I'm just the producer of the show. Remember Maya wouldn't tell us who she was going to vote for? Ben, I'm a journalist, okay? Maya's got the strongest opinions of pretty much anyone I've ever met. I cannot tell you who I voted for. Well, let me guess. Anyway, Mayor Lori Lightfoot's statement. This is a statement released by Mayor Lori Lightfoot Tuesday, and I will read it over and over again. Tuesday night at 8:30, the story was breaking everywhere. And her first statement, her first public statement issued by her press office in regards to it, quote, "Today, I became aware of an incident involving Ms. Anjanette Young from February 2019 before I became mayor, and I saw a video today for the first time. I had no knowledge of either until today. I had a very emotional reaction to what was depicted on the video, as I imagine that many people did. Since the matter is the subject of litigation and an open COPA investigation, I will have no further comment." That was Tuesday. Now she's still sticking to that story that it was the first she heard about it when the Channel 2 broke it. But she has deviated from that last statement, which is, since the matter is subject of litigation, I will have no further comment, because obviously, like, the smart people who give her public relations advice have told her, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, maybe it's not a good idea for you to be so callous and insensitive about this obvious violation of decency. Maybe it's not a good idea. So now suddenly she's apologizing. Like, I don't know what changed between Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday, she was cold and tough, like a lawyer. Since this matter is the subject of litigation and an open COPA investigation, I will have no further comment. And then on Wednesday, she's like, I'm just so sorry and so brokenhearted about this. And I just feel so bad. And I know that Northsiders are like, yeah, Ben, go easy on her. I find it really hard to go easy on the mayor. She reminds me of Trump at this moment and Rahm at this moment. And I was like, I thought we were done with Rahm Emanuel types in this city. Mayor Rahm buried the Laquan McDonald video. Didn't want anybody to see it. I thought we were done with that. It's like one step forward in this godforsaken town and then 2 steps back. Why do I stay here? Sorry, Dean, that was so uncalled for. It's a lovely town. Oh, I love the Cubs. Wrigley Field.
Catch the Ben Joravsky Show live from Alton, Illinois, starting in January 2021.
They're going to kick me out of this town. Take my car. That's your town, Chicago. All I can say, Chicago, is you have a hell of a way of making a guy feel at home. That's Chicago, man. Oh, every mayor. Mayor Daley. They were like torturing black people in police stations throughout Chicago. I don't see anything. I don't know anything. What? Huh? John Burge, who? And then Mayor Rahm, I apologize for John Burge. This will never happen again. This is horrible. Meanwhile, Laquan McDonald tape. Can we put that in that drawer there and lock it and never let it out? And Lori Lightfoot runs for office and says, it's all going to be different with me. I was on the police board. I learned lessons. Suddenly, I'm having Lori Lightfoot talk like Barack Obama.
Yeah.
And
this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine.
It's going to be the most transparent administration ever. The light's going to go on. Wait, I thought Rahm was the most transparent administration. No. Forget everything. That's how it is in Chicago. Forget everything the last mayor told you. It wasn't true. Just believe what I tell you. In Chicago, it's okay. As long as I get my garbage picked up, I'll believe whatever you tell me. The funniest part about the Mays interview yesterday, Mays, come on now, you knew I was going to do this. When he goes on this riff justifying why he was for Rahm in 2015. I love you, Mays, you're my guy, but I wasn't buying that riff. Anyway, that's Chicago. They love their mayors. They always give their mayors second chances. They want to believe in their mayors. Believing in a Chicago mayor is like believing in Santa Claus. Oh, my mayor loves me. My mayor would never do anything to harm me. So here we go. Lori Lightfoot's forever changing view. I think she's going to cling to this one, D. I don't think tomorrow she's going to have a press conference saying, I take back my apology. I think she's going to stick to this story about how just upset she is by what she saw in the video, even though the first time she saw the video, she was like, oh, since this matter is the subject of litigation and an open COPA investigation, I will have no further comment.
All right. Kyle on the live stream chat did remind us, and thank you. Yes, Ben did vote for Lori Lightfoot. Okay, so
it's true, Kyle. Usually I blame someone else. I've been known to blame Dennis from time to time. But as Dennis likes to point out, he did not vote for Lori Lightfoot in the last election. So I have no one to blame but myself, Kyle.
all right. So the news of Anjanette Young broke a night before Wednesday's city council meeting. And during the meeting, tensions were high, especially between Mayor Lightfoot and one particular city council member, one that's going to be on the show in about an hour. And you know what? I tell you, the latest season of everyone's favorite Chicago political soap opera has certainly been a good one thus far. It is time for the latest episode of A Mayor and Her Alderman.
A mayor and her alderman.
You have to be a good neighbor. You have to be a good neighbor. Otherwise, I'm going to be up your butt every day.
And make no mistake, people, we are indeed witnessing in real time the story of Anjanette Young morphing into the story of Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. We may be looking back at this very moment come mayoral election season. Or, you know, maybe not. I don't know, but we may. Shout out to Fran Spielman of the Chicago Sun-Times. Fran, happy holidays. We'd simply be lost without you and your bang-up daily coverage of our Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. And after a brief shouting match with the mayor during Wednesday's city council meeting, 25th Ward Alderman Byron Sigcho-Lopez is the star of today's A Mayor and Her Alderman. Like we said, the news of Anjanette Young broke the night before the city council meeting, and Sigcho-Lopez was upset with the mayor. Fran Spielman writes, Sigcho-Lopez didn't seem to care that the raid at the home of Anjanette Young had nothing to do with the 3 settlements tied to allegations of police wrongdoing that were up for a vote Wednesday. He seized the opportunity to unload on Lightfoot for directing her law department to try and block WBBM TV from airing disturbing video of the incident taken by a police body camera. And Ben, I cannot wait for our next interview with David Glowatz. He'll hopefully have the audio of this. For now, we'll have to live with the quotes that I have. Sigcho-Lopez said to Mayor Lightfoot, quote, "We have a systemic issue of police brutality. Miss Young called out police 43 times to denounce that this was an illegal and wrong mistaken raid at her house. Lightfoot ruled the alderman out of order for attempting to raise a separate issue. Sigcho-Lopez countered that he was, quote, not out of order and said he had his 5 minutes coming. What's fair is fair. He continues saying, I hold you accountable, Mayor, to have a hearing on the matter because the public deserves an explanation for what happened and why the law department was trying to sue the plaintiff because she was trying to make this public, as was her right. Lightfoot then accused Sigcho-Lopez of making wildly inaccurate comments, even though he did not, quote, know the facts. The images portrayed on the video were upsetting, no question whatsoever. Oh, this is the quote from Lightfoot. The images portrayed on that video were upsetting, no question whatsoever. But what I would ask you is to actually get the facts, sir. You have spent a significant amount of your time talking about issues for which you have no facts, and that is highly problematic. It is irresponsible. It undermines your fiduciary responsibility, not only to the council, but to the larger city of Chicago. That then prompted Alderman Carlos Ramirez-Rosa of the 35th Ward to chime in, saying, quote, personal attacks on members of this body are out of order. With that, the fireworks ended.
Oh, wait, where was Raylo for all this? I was like, by the way, great recitation, D. That was the online story you were reading. It had a lot more details than the paper story in the article. Where was Raylo when I needed him? I got to bring him on the show and get his thoughts on this. I don't think it's inappropriate for Byron Sigcho-Lopez to raise this matter. It particularly pertains to the fiduciary oversight responsibilities of the Chicago City Council, because the Chicago City Council is frequently, continually, some might say, being requested by the administration, the law department of the administration, to approve a settlement on some kind of police misconduct trial. So there's allegation of misconduct by the Chicago Police Department, some law enforcement officers. Somebody sues. The case is working its way through court. And this is the reality. And I'm going to defend lawyers for the city. Their job as lawyers for the city is try to minimize the payout that the city has to make for the misconduct of its police officers. And that means trying to undercut the evidence that's in front of them, trying to ruin the credibility of the people who are making accusations about the Chicago Police Department. And it also means doing everything they can to conceal whatever evidence there might exist that would substantiate the allegations that the plaintiff is making. That's what they're supposed to do. Lori Lightfoot, before she became mayor of the city of Chicago, remember this, ladies and gentlemen, was a corporate lawyer. So she knows what lawyers do. She did it herself as a corporate lawyer. A lot of defense work. You're doing everything you can to undercut the argument of the other side so that the payout is less. So the law department was doing what it's supposed to do as the fiduciary overseers of Chicago. Nonetheless, when the settlements turn over to the city council, the city council has a fiduciary obligation. I love the word fiduciary. To ask what has changed in the city of Chicago to make sure that this won't happen again. So yesterday they were being asked, and we're going to hear all this when Dave Glowacz comes on in a couple of weeks for the city council rundown. They were being asked about 3 settlements. And he goes, meanwhile, we have these stories in the press about this other horrific incident with Anjanette Young and the raid in her house. So Lori Lightfoot, she just can't let Byron Sigcho-Lopez raise his point. She has to get in his face. Tell him he doesn't know his facts. Well, in all due respect, Madam Mayor, there haven't been a lot of facts delivered by the city of Chicago on this matter. And there's certainly been no facts that make sense, like your statement that you released on Tuesday at 8:30, the day before this city council hearing, where you said you just became aware of the incident involving Ms. Anjanette Young. That is unbelievable. That's really hard for people in Chicago to believe. That your law department, I know the raid happened before you took office. I understand that. We all understand. Everybody in Chicago understands that. But you inherited the lawsuit. That lawsuit has been working through the courts all throughout your administration. Your lawyers have been in court fighting that lawsuit and fighting the release of that tape. And then you act as though you just heard about it. And I don't think anybody in Chicago believes that. So when you say to Byron Sigcho-Lopez, just stick to the facts, the reality is that people in Chicago don't know the facts. We never know the facts in Chicago. They're still telling us that TIFs don't raise taxes. So I'm really curious what Byron Sigcho-Lopez is going to say. We're going to ask him all these questions. D, was he out of order to raise this matter? Should he just sat quietly and not brought it up?
Yeah, these
should he apologize to the mayor for upsetting her?
These city council meetings are interesting. It seems like, I don't know, they're like punished for caring or something. I don't know. Like, it's weird. Like, hey, how dare you care about?
Yeah, it's like Raylo.
Like the recreational marijuana thing happened back, a few months back when the black aldermen were like, we're a little worried that this may, kind of, hey, how dare you care? Get out of here.
Well, it's the same thing with Raylo. When they were rioting in his wards. So he confronted the mayor on it. What'd she tell him, D? I forgot the exact quote. I think it was, what was it again, D?
You'll find out in a minute.
Oh, that Dr. D, he's a little devil. Anyway, Byron, we're really curious to see what Byron has to say when he comes on the show.
Yeah, it's coming up here right after our news. Byron, Sigcho-Lopez, don't go anywhere. It's going to be a very, very interesting interview. But hey, there it was. Once again, another episode, the latest season of A Mayor and Her Alderman.
A mayor and her alderman.
I want an answer. It's not something you ignore.
I think you're 100% full of shit is what I think. If you think we
No offense, well, fuck you then. Who are you to tell me I'm full of shit?
I'm sorry, D. The only thing that's one of the few things that's kept me going through this pandemic is that exchange between Raylo and Mayor Lightfoot. And every time I hear that, when Raylo, we have to bring Raylo back. We need her. I'm still a little surprised that Raylo didn't jump in on this one. You know what I'm saying?
All right, moving on here. Illinois Governor Jb Pritzker.
Springtime. Love it.
Okay, well, winter, but thank you.
It's his favorite season, D.
I guess so. Right now, as we speak, Illinois Governor Jb Pritzker is delivering his 1:15 pandemic press briefing. What happened at 2:30? I will try to provide updates on that if they become available before the end of today's show. But in the meantime, about Wednesday's press briefing, a bit of bad news. Illinois will be receiving less vaccinations than originally thought over the next couple of weeks. Isn't that right, Governor Jb Pritzker?
However, as of this morning, I'm disappointed to learn that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services informed us that per the direction of Operation Warp Speed's General Perna, that estimate was tightened significantly, down to 4.3 million doses shipped nationally next week.
Yeah? And?
This development will likely cut our state's projected Pfizer shipments this month by roughly half. The same is true across the rest of the nation.
Interesting. But hey, here's good news. A new effort has been launched in Illinois to get computers to those who can't afford them 9 months later.
When your upgrade cycle gets renewed and your old technology in your company no longer fits the needs of your employees, you can donate it, and it will be upgraded for use by a family in need.
Okay, yeah, and?
Events are already underway in Metro East, in Cook County, and in other parts of the state. More distribution events will kick off next month with the list of locations updated regularly, so check in on a regular basis.
All right. By the way, that's a little late for the Chicago Public Schools. We talked about... I'm sorry. Just believe whatever they say, teachers. Go back to that classroom. They would never lie to you. Okay? Don't ask questions. Know your facts. Just go to those classrooms. Shut up. Do what they say. Or they'll take away your car. No, but we had this conversation with Maya on Tuesday. We talked about the Chalkbeat story, excellent story in Chalkbeat, a publication about education, about how the mayor's friend sent her an email. Hey, I got computers for you. And the mayor goes, great, thank you, and sent an email to the Chicago Public Schools. Only unlike with Jb Pritzker's computers, this guy wanted to get paid for it. Well, you know what, D, I told you, when I first saw the story, I'm like, why is everybody getting mad at Lori Lightfoot? Man, the guy gave away his computers. Negatory, Ben. He wasn't giving away those computers. He was selling them. Now it turns out that Jb Pritzker's got a program. This is how much they care about the kids of Chicago. What did you say, D? 9 months later? 9 months later, kids. Without computers, don't worry. We're going to take care of you. We're going to get Dennis to give his old 1995 computer to us. We'll send it in, and we'll have Pat Whalen fix it. Get my hands here. G. Who's like, isn't Pat like the best computer guy we know on this show? Pat, isn't he? Pat Whalen? I think Pat knows more about computers. Anyway,
more than you and me, that's for sure. But that's not saying anything, dude.
It's really not. Let me just get back there. The carburetor is broken. Wait, is there a carburetor in a computer?
No.
Oh, it's the timing chain. I see. It's an old timing chain. I'll fix it here. Snip, snip. Anyway, that's just what a state. 9 months later. Lori Lightfoot's friend. Don't worry about Chicago, Jb Pritzker. Mayor Lori Lightfoot's got a friend. Have I got a friend? He's going to sell these computers at cut-rate prices. Who's right? Next thing I know, I'm going to get an email from Donnie Trump Jr. Hey, donate your computer, and my dad will give you a free autograph signed hat. Anyway, I'm just on behalf of everyone in the city of Chicago, I want to thank Governor Pritzker and Mayor Lori Lightfoot's friend for really caring about the kids of Chicago and making sure they get computers 9 months after the pandemic hit and closed the schools. Because that's how much they care about poor kids in Chicago, D. And don't you ever say, young Dennis, that they don't care about poor kids. Because if you say that again, I'm going to take your car, I'm going to take your bong and make you walk home.
Not my bong. All right. But hey, at least it's better than that stupid book Barack Obama was offering. Am I right?
I'm not a perfect person.
Oh, yeah. How can I forget the book? I realize that most of you don't have computers. So what I'm going to do is give you a computerized version of my 700-page book. That ought to really help you with your homework. Yeah.
You can read the book online. What's that? No computer? Yep, tough titty, said the kitty when the milk went dry.
Oh, God. Our leaders, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, teachers, shut up, get in that classroom, put that mask on, do what they tell you. Okay? And Barack Obama's sending over a book in a computer form. And I don't care if your kids don't have computers. Just say, thank you, President Obama.
Well, you love that Lori clip.
I won't just turn the car around. I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to kick you out, and I'm going to make you walk home.
All right,
Yeah,
so
that's Lori Lightfoot talking to Jesse Sharkey. No, not really.
that's all the news I really have on Jb Pritzker. Also, no updates on Madigan Gate. The time utility bigwigs ComEd admitted to arranging jobs, contracts, and payoffs to the associates of Illinois Democratic House Speaker one Michael Joseph Madigan. No updates on that. So let's go back to some city news here. The rift between a mayor and her Chicago teachers union continues. I don't have any intros for that, so I'm just going to read the news from the Sun-Times and one Nadir Issa. It says here, a labor court Thursday denied the Chicago Teachers Union's attempt to delay Chicago Public Schools' planned January reopening, a setback for the union that was looking to fully bargain with the district over the return to schools for the first time during the pandemic. And Ben, I know shade when I see it, all right? And the following statement comes from CPS spokeswoman Emily Bolton. It's about a 9.5 on the shade-o-meter, all right? And Ben, I learned a long time ago, as a young man, a valuable lesson. And that is, don't start no shit, won't be no shit. You ever hear that?
Oh, no. Is that your aunt or your uncle, Eldon?
That's some 90s rap song. I can't remember. But don't start no shit, won't be no shit.
Wait, hold on. Let me write that down. That's good. Don't start no shit. And then what's the second line?
Won't be no shit.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
We'll have to read that to Stacey Davis Gates when next time she comes on the show.
And don't confuse that with don't ask me for shit in the next 3 months. That's something else.
Okay.
So, yeah, CPS spokeswoman Emily Bolton is obviously looking to start some shit. Bolton said in a statement, quote, "It's time for the CTU to put students first." You guys know what you're doing, right? And be supportive partners in the effort to safely reopen classrooms for the families who need us now more than ever. A CTU spokesperson didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. But wait, okay, we do have CTU President Jesse Sharkey. He's live on the streets with an update. Jesse. Yeah?
Right now,
Didn't
hear you there. But Ben, give us your thoughts.
Oh my God, Jesse Sharkey outside Lane Tech High School, the gift that keeps giving. What what's my thoughts? Some press spokesperson who's never been in a classroom in her life telling teachers, put students first. Oh, like a teacher doesn't put students first. Like a teacher needs some press aide to tell him or her to put students first. Oh, I love it when press aides tell teachers to put students first. These are people, teachers, who've like spent a lot of money getting that degree to be able to become a public school teacher, come to Chicago, working in conditions that are pretty horrific. I mean, like a lot of kids don't have computers, working for administrators who shut down the schools in the middle of the pandemic, then realize, oh, wait a minute, your kids don't all have computers. Then get a friend of the mayor to sell the system some computers without going through the bidding process. Even though you could do what the governor did and ask people to donate to computers. And now some press aide says, put students first. Just when she says that, what she really means is shut up and do what we tell you. Don't ask questions. Don't raise issues. Don't express your concerns. It's sort of like the attitude when Byron Sigcho-Lopez stands up at the city council to talk about what happened to Anjanette Young. Shut up, sit down. You're out of order. The whole system's out of order. Put students first. Wow. Put students first, D. I don't know really what to say about that when you have a press aide who's not in a classroom. For all I know, has never been in a classroom. Telling teachers who go in classrooms every day until the pandemic to put students first. God, I know a lot of teachers, man. Really dedicated crew of people. A lot of them, they don't get enough money for supplies, so they pay the supplies themselves. I never heard a press aide kicking in for supplies. I'll give Nick Sposato credit. I remember when Mayor Nick Sposato, Alderman 38th Ward, I remember when Rahm Emanuel was bankrupting the public school system in Chicago. They didn't get enough money for toilet paper. Nick Sposato had a toilet paper fundraiser. Remember that? He got people to contribute toilet paper. Toilet paper was flowing in from all over his ward. It was an embarrassment for the public schools that an alderman had to ask people for toilet paper. The system was so broke they couldn't even afford toilet paper. But even then, I don't know who the press aide was, they'd be saying, put students first. Whenever a teacher raises a question, how dare you raise a question? How dare you question what we're doing? Don't you realize that you're not putting students first? You asking that question jeopardizes the education of students? There has never been a serious attempt by this administration to work in conjunction with the Chicago Teachers Union. I will say this again and again and again, just like I will say again and again and again, that there's not a shred of evidence to substantiate the Republican claims that Joe Biden stole the election. You got to say it over and over again, people, because the other side's just going to repeat it. Lori Lightfoot has been battling the Chicago Teachers Union from the moment she walked in the office because she was incapable of getting over the fact that the Chicago Teachers Union foolishly, I say foolishly, because I told them not to do it, but they did it anyway, threw down so hard for Tony Preckwinkle. And I know it's a popular refrain in the city of Chicago. It's going to be repeated by the editorial board, civic community, and corporate Chicago, that the teachers union is just unreasonable. And you can't deal with the teachers union. And all they want to do is defeat Lori Lightfoot. So just shut up, get in that classroom and put students first. And the editorial writers will write it, even though they haven't been in a classroom ever. And the Civic Chicago will say it, even though they haven't been in a classroom ever. So do you have a hard time when someone says, put the students first? Because that's just another way of saying, shut up, you're out of order, sit down.
And what do you think of this comment from the CPS spokeswoman, Emily Bolton? Are you new? Stacey Davis Gates is the vice president. When you say something like this, she's going to come back with a response, right?
Did she come back with a response?
Not yet, but it's going to happen. It's time for CTU to put students first. That's a burn, man.
Yeah. Well, what can I say? That's the company line. That was the company line, but some things, like I say, never change. Rahm was the same way. He's always mad at CTU. In those days, he was mad at Karen Jennings Lewis. So now Stacey Davis Gates is the one they don't like. Everybody dislikes Stacey Davis Gates. She's unreasonable, Ben. You can't work with her. You don't know the real Stacey Davis Gates.
Well, we know the real Stacey Davis Gates. They don't know the real Stacey Davis Gates. We have Jesse Sharkey. He's back. He has something to say here. Jesse, go ahead, my man.
And we view that this is a civil rights issue.
Okay.
We think that the conditions in our schools.
All right, I feel you.
We think that support for our students that need trauma support, social workers, psychologists,
all right,
counselors.
Hey,
we think that adequate services to special education.
Okay.
You gotta give Jesse credit, man. He just keeps trying. Oh Lord. Oh my goodness. He didn't quit. Here comes the truck. There is no truth to the rumor that it was a CPS press spokesperson behind the wheel of that big semi that went.
All right, we now go to the live stream chat. And Jim, this is your time to shine, buddy. All right, Jim on the live stream chat. He has a question here. He says, I wonder how Karen Lewis would have reacted to Lori Lightfoot and CPS in these current times. I think she would have opened up a can of whoop ass on him.
Yes, she would. I love Karen Lewis. Yeah, Karen, I get kind of choked up. Karen was a fighter, and she was really the first. I'm going to try to say this right. The first person outside of a city council who stood up to a mayor. Because all through those Daley years, city of Chicago, everybody was falling in line with the mayor. Union people fell in line with the mayor. Civic people fell in line. It was just like Chicago had dedicated itself to the notion that everyone had to support Mayor Daley because we didn't want to go back to the days of Harold Washington. So everybody had to support Mayor Daley. And Karen came around. Really, Mayor Rahm, she became president during the end of the Daley years, but Mayor Rahm was the first mayor she had to deal with. And she said, no, just because the mayor says something, I don't have to bend. Mayor says stuff that isn't true. I'm not just going to go along with untruths. And so to me, she's a great hero in Chicago. And I really, Maze and I were talking about this yesterday. We were both wishing, Maze Jackson, when he was on the show, we were both wishing that she had the opportunity to run against Rahm in 2015. Unfortunately, she got sick. She got cancer, so she couldn't run against Mayor Rahm. So, yeah, I don't think she would put up with some press aide saying, put students first. By the way, Karen Lewis taught for well over 20 years in the Chicago Public Schools of Chicago. She was a high school science teacher, taught at Sullivan, taught at Lane, taught at King. So who the hell is any press secretary to tell Karen Lewis to put students first? So, yeah, that's how I think. I think Karen would have stood up to this mayor, too.
Thank you, Jim, for reaching out on the live stream chat. And Jim, now earlier during our news, you heard the phone ringing. That's what our phone ring sounds like. I don't know how to shut the damn noise off, but I'm glad we got the call because it was from Jim. Jim left us a voicemail. Now, Jim and I have been talking one-on-one on the live stream chat a little bit, and we've worked up a little segment, and Jim has finally called in for this, and we're going to do it. Ben, I think you're going to like this. Jim has Chicago Bulls trivia for you. How about that?
Whoa.
Right? It's the holidays, let's have fun.
I have another, after this, don't let me forget to read Heidi Henry's text message, but go ahead, Dave.
Okay, great. We'll do Heidi Henry's text message. That's coming up, but first, let's focus on this one here. We have trivia question, Bulls trivia question. It comes from Jim. Jim, thank you so much for reaching out. You can call the Ben Joravsky Show, 708-658-4788. That number again, 708-658-4788. Call the Ben Joravsky Show. And, hey, let's keep this going. If you got Chicago Bulls trivia for Ben, throw it our way. Throw it our way, and we'll see if Ben can answer them. So let me fire up the music here. No pressure, Ben. No pressure on this trivia question.
By the way, am I allowed to cheat and look at my phone?
No. Okay, here we go. He claims this is an easy one. I'm going to play the voicemail from Jim. Here we go.
Hey, Ben and Dennis, it's Jim. Got two quick Bulls trivia questions for Ben. Pretty easy. First one, when the Bulls won the NBA championship in 1991, their first title, true or false, Michael Jordan was the leading scorer in that game.
Ben?
Well, I presume when the game he's referring to is Game 5, when they won their first championship, Game 5. I guess that's what he means, against the Lakers. And I would say true. I know, like, the question is probably set up to be a false, and he's probably going to say, no, it was John Paxson hit all those shots. But what the heck? It's Michael Jeffrey Jordan. So I say true.
All right. He says true. We'll play the next question. We'll hear how this goes, and we'll base it off of this, how we're going to do this. Here we go.
Also true or false, during the Bulls Homes games, the introductions, Michael Jordan was always the last player introduced. True or false?
Well, while he was with the Bulls, true.
All right.
Always the last person. Number 23 from North Carolina, Dr. D.
All right. Yeah. J. Marie on the live stream chat, you're so right. Yeah, Jim has one hell of a Chicago accent.
God bless him, man.
All right. So, Ben Joravsky says true and
Yes.
true.
Yes.
The answer to question number 1, it is true. Good job.
Yes. Give me the ball, baby. Ooh.
But question number 2, you said was true as well.
Yes.
Well, according to Jim, that's false. Oh, man, brick. He says Scottie Pippen was also announced last.
That was only when Jordan wasn't playing. I mean, come on. Wait. There was those 2 years, a year and a half, where Michael Jeffrey Jordan was retired the first time. Remember, D? Mm-hmm. And so that's when Scottie Pippen was announced the last. So I don't know. Right. I think that's a technicality, man.
I'm sure Jim will weigh in with further explanation of this, and maybe a little later on we'll talk about it. But, yeah, feel free to call the Ben Joravsky Show, 708-658-4788. I'll figure a way to mute that loud noise when the call comes in during the show. And you can send us an email as well, BennyJShow@gmail.com, BENNY, the letter J show @gmail.com. And, Ben, we did get an email from Heidi Henry, did we not?
Yes. And here we go. Let me get this. Wrong person. Hold on. Where are you, Heidi? I got you right here. Dennis Stahl, by talking about your favorite vegetables.
Okay. Well, I do love broccoli. Broccoli is amazing. Probably my favorite vegetable. Wait, I was telling people about broccoli.
Lou Broccoli, former outfielder for the St. Louis Cardinals. All right, so Heidi Henry, good friend of the show, one of the Heartland Mamas from out in the hinterland somewhere, sent me a text message. She was not pleased to say the least, about some complimentary words I had for a certain Republican congressman named Adam Kinzinger. And as Dennis would tell you, Adam Kinzinger is the congressman from the 16th Congressional District up in Northern Illinois. Suddenly I'm talking like Obama, Northern Illinois.
You love Obama, but go ahead.
And I love Obama, but I'm not reading the book. I'm sorry, D. I draw the line at that new book of his. Oh, it's 700 pages, and made most of it up. Anyway, Adam Kinzinger released a statement. I think it was a tweet that was very critical of Republicans for continuing to promote the notion that the election was somehow stolen and fraudulent, even though there's not a shred of evidence. Let me repeat that. Not a shred of evidence to substantiate that point, but it doesn't stop them from repeating it. And so I gave Kinzinger credit because I thought, well, if a Republican does something like stand up to MAGA and Trump, that's significant because, it's easy for me to stand up to MAGA and Trump. I would never, ever, ever vote for Trump. but these are Kinzinger's voters. And so, most Republicans are afraid to do it. So I gave him a little shout out, and Heidi chastised me for that. And I will now read you the text. Ben, are you kidding on Kinzinger? He would have authorized the bombing of black and brown people in our own country. He is an orange-nosed sycophant. The fact that he's trying to be credible is incredible because he isn't. He's a total waste of skin and oxygen, a complete waste of time, and he has to be one of the worst members of Congress Illinois has ever had. Heidi, I got to give you credit. He got away with words. He is a total waste of skin and oxygen. He is a war hawk. He is always advocating for farming because that's what he does, apparently, flying through the air. National Guard, he claims that he does, and he's always advocating for bombing in a country where people have black or brown skins, always, always. He is a misogynist, he's a bigot, he's a racist, and it shows. And every one of his votes, he voted 98% with Trump on every issue, is not anti-Trump. Isn't it the election has gone the other way? Oh, if the election had gone the other way, he'd be all for totalitarianism based on his voting record and rhetoric alone. So Heidi Henry weighs in, and she, I believe, lives in Adam Kinzinger's district, so she knows more about him than I do. I do not live in Adam Kinzinger's district, Heidi, but you and I are just going to have to respectfully disagree on this one. I got to give a shout out to Republicans, in my humble opinion. I feel obligated to give out a shout out to Republicans who stand up to this effort to steal an election, have effectively a coup. That's why, I had to kind of give credit to Brett Kavanaugh. God, it killed me. And Neil Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett for not joining the effort to undo the election. I see that the great Alderman Byron Sigcho-Lopez has joined us. We're going to take a break. Right, D?
Absolutely.
We're going to bring him on, the pride and joy of the 25th Ward. He's going to talk about what the kids back in junior high will call humbug he had at yesterday's city council meeting with Mayor Lori Lightfoot in the matter of Anjanette Young. So we'll have the alderman on with us when we return from this break.
Blame it on alcohol, baby. Blame it on alcohol, yeah. Blame it on alcohol, baby. Blame it on alcohol, yeah. Blame it on alcohol, baby. Blame it on alcohol, yeah. We getting lit. And I'm fucking quick. I like this. And you ready to quit? No. They're teaching me something new. Come on, baby. Something I want to do. I'm gonna let my head down and turn out this town. We getting lit tonight. And everything's alright. Not a sight. My, and right. We getting lit. Yeah, we getting lit. Yeah, we getting lit. Yeah, we getting lit. Yeah. I'm gonna party tonight. Everything's alright. You out of sight. Yeah. Oh my. We gotta celebrate. And you don't need no date. Nobody hates. Just walk in the place. We getting lit. We're gonna party in this club and get a DJ to hug. Baby, you're back, bro. Got to get lit.
Blame it on the alcohol. Blame it on the alcohol. Yeah. Blame it on the alcohol. Yeah. Blame it on the alcohol. Yeah. Blame it on the alcohol. Yeah.
What she say? Blame it on the alcohol.
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan. Hour number 2 of your Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you by the Chicago Reader and the Chicago Federation of Labor. Benny J, take it away.
For the last couple of days, we've been talking about the police raid on Anjanette Young's home where they burst into her house. It was not the right house. She was naked. They handcuffed her. They humiliated her. It's a huge embarrassment. And then the city fought from having forced to release the video. Fought Channel 2, fought Anjanette's lawyers. Anyway, this is the big story of the day. We got Byron Sigcho-Lopez ready to talk about it. I just want to say one thing. I got this updates from Pat Whalen, our dear friend Pat Whalen. Gregory Pratt, who has done an outstanding job for the Chicago Tribune covering of this, was asking tough questions of the Mayor Lori Lightfoot the other day, and she ripped them and said he was inaccurate and he should know the facts or whatever. Well, Mayor Lori Lightfoot issued an apology at today's press conference. She said, quote, I want to just say that I specifically reached out to the reporter I was particularly tough on by name yesterday and apologized for calling him out. I can never let my frustrations and emotions get the better of me, and I think I did yesterday. And Gregory Pratt wrote, apology accepted and must appreciate it. And that brings me to my next guest, Alderman Byron Sigcho-Lopez, the pride and joy of the 25th Ward in the city of Chicago, 25th Ward, home to Chinatown, Pilsen. One of these days, Byron, we're going to have, when this pandemic has passed, we're going to make good on our promise. You, me, and Lorene Targos, a frequent guest on our show, and your wife, go to Chinatown, do the remote from Chinatown. I've not forgotten that, right, Byron?
I'm going to hold you to it, because definitely we're looking forward to that. And thank you again for the invitation, Ben.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of love for Chinatown, and it took a beating and has taken a beating because of the pandemic. All right, let's get down to what happened, what went down in the city council yesterday. We've talked about it already, but why don't you give your account of what you did and the mayor's response? Go ahead, Byron.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I think it's important because, not everything was reported, as it happened. There was a vote on the settlements, and unfortunately, countless settlements that we get every council meeting. I think $800,000. We have had on the 3 settlements that we paid because of police misconduct. I mean, that terrible practice where taxpayers have to pay. I mean, just last year, $107 million. The last 10 years. Almost, $800 million, I believe, almost $1 billion in police misconduct cases. So there was a case of the teenager that was dragged in the Howard versus the city of Chicago, where the city was settling this case for $300,000. Alderman Haddon had made a comment on the case and why she was, and rightly so. I mean, we had a conversation beforehand with the Progressive Caucus members, and some of us decided to vote no on this settlement because we believe that we cannot continue to throw money at these cases and really not address the systemic issue of police brutality and misconduct. Alderman Haddon, voted the way that her consciousness dictated. She expressed that, in this kind of case, reviewing the facts, that she believes that the victim could have probably do better in trial, and that the city should be more accountable because of the policies of the SROs, which we all have condemned, having more police presence in our schools, and with the consequences and the fiscal irresponsibility that it represents. The mayor, as is characteristic of her, every time that there's any disagreements, basically snapped at Alderman Haddon, which was, I think, making a very good case. I had just before that made my vote also as a no vote in this matter, and following Alderman Haddon's comments, which I agreed. And when I saw Mayor Lightfoot basically pushing and also dismissing Alderman Haddon's comments and doubling down on how her law department, has, does as a wonderful job, and how the law department did the due diligence, and that they cannot force plaintiffs to come to agreements, that this is an agreement that was done by both parts. To me, it was not only the fact that she was so dismissive and aggressive to Alderman Haddon, but also the fact that to me, it was like, didn't you see the news the night before? Do you understand what you're talking about? So to me, it was just, she has the right to comment. I have my right to comment. And I thought it was appropriate for us to discuss the issues of the law department now. And as she, after she said that I, according to her, I did not know the facts. I was just watching the press conference that she had not only yesterday, but another one today, which they still cannot really explain exactly what happened. It seems like Mayor Lightfoot doesn't seem to know the facts, but yet was very, very confident on the floor that she knew all the facts. Now she's backtracking on some of those comments. The fact that apparently she did not know that Ms. Young had filed a FOIA, that she had to file the FOIA, and that apparently, according to her, she did not know. Now, apparently in the news today, apparently she did not remember that someone told her about this in November. So there's just so many inconsistencies. My comments were very factual in the sense that, it is, to the public, important to know exactly what happened from the mayor of the city. When she instructs in the press conference, she said, my law department, she is very, very quick to react when there are issues, but all of a sudden, she seemed to not to be attending the FOIA meetings. She seemed like she was not even aware of anything until she saw in the media. So it was obvious for us important to state the facts, and the facts is that the public deserves an explanation, that we want the mayor to come to a public safety committee to explain the facts in detail and with evidence, and that this policy of doubling down and threatening a victim as Ms. Young, after we saw the horrible images, to me, it was not acceptable, and we needed to challenge that on the floor.
Now, I'm not aware of the press conference today, Byron. I have to tell you, we've been on the air. So we've been on the air while she's been having the press conference. I'm sure we'll be talking about it at length tomorrow. But it seems as though she's backtracking from this statement that she released. I've been reading this one for 2 days. This is a press statement that was sent out Tuesday night by the mayor's office, and it's quoting the mayor, literally quoting the mayor. So it's coming from her mouth. Today, this is Tuesday night, as I speak to you, Byron, it's Thursday. Today, I became aware of an incident involving Ms. Anjanette Young from February 2019, before I became mayor, and I saw a video today for the first time. I had no knowledge of either until today. I had a very emotional reaction to what was depicted on the video, as I imagine that many people did. But since this matter is the subject of litigation and an open COPA investigation, I will have no further comment. Well, we can pick apart this statement all day. So is she now saying that she was aware of the incident involving Ms. Anjanette Young, that she was in fact wrong just 2 days ago when she said she was unaware of the incident? Is she now saying she was aware of it, Byron?
Well, that's what we understand. And I just got a report from my policy team that apparently now she said that at some point in November, she was informed, but she doesn't remember. Then she said that everything that she found out was from the press. in the media reports, which I found problematic. Either way, if that's the way that, and apparently, according to Mayor Lightfoot, she was also the person who apparently have created a lot of these policies in place for the raids and in these situations, and that she has been, and I think she felt pretty confident that the control systems, as she calls them, were very solid. I mean, how can anybody says that this was their control systems are solid? I mean, to me is, after she's seen that she watched the video, but then she makes a statement like that, then she has to again make another statement. To me, the inconsistencies and to me the backtracking in a case like this, after what we saw what happened, not too long ago with the Laquan McDonald case and the cover-up and the shame and the national shame that was, and I think to see a similar case again after she has campaigned to and promised, that there was going to be reform, that there was going to be a new day in the city. Where is the light and where's the new day? I mean, we have seen this time after time, and the fact that she has not reprimanded, because I think that there has to be sanctions in anybody who was involved in this situation to try to double down. Imagine the atrocity that is to try to intimidate the victim out of the traumatic experience of being invaded in her own home illegally. Yeah. And then for the city to have the audacity and the law department, a law department that I have questioned in hearings. I have questioned the law department because they have to respect the law. They have to make sure that they do not use the law to intimidate and to threaten victims like Ms. Young. To me, is atrocious what happened. And then they start backtracking, and apparently now they're not longer pursuing the threat that almost pretended to, or the intention was to block that video to go to the media. And again, I think to me the facts have to be clear. I think that is very clear that we need a hearing on this specific matter in community. But ultimately, the Mayor Lightfoot has campaigned on campaigned to have police accountability reform within her first 100 days in office. I mean, almost 2 years later, where is the reform?
All right, let me play devil's advocate with you a little bit, get your response to this.
Mm-hmm.
The law department, I said this earlier in the show before you came on, the law department's job is to minimize the amount of money Chicago has to pay in cases like this. So their job, the lawyer's job, is to undercut the plaintiff. In this case, to do everything they can to discredit the case of Jeanette Young. Now, look, from the perspective of a citizen who wants justice served, that's a complete contradiction. But that's the law department's job. And Lori Lightfoot, her career, she's a corporate lawyer. She's a defense lawyer. And sometimes, Byron, Sigcho-Lopez, I think Lori Lightfoot thinks like a corporate lawyer. And she thinks of someone like Jeanette Young as a pain in the neck to the city of Chicago. And so you use legal tactics that corporate law lawyers do to undercut the case that their clients have been hit with. And that means restrict the flow of information that would bolster the case, in this case, a video, keep that video from being released, sort of trivialize the matter, and in the hopes that they'll cut a deal with the lawyer, they'll settle for less, it'll never go to trial, and then they're going to turn to you, Byron, Sigcho-Lopez, and the other members of the Chicago City Council and say, shut up, pass this settlement, don't ask questions, and then there's no consequences for police going forward. That's my response to this. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. And I think that goes back to that session that we had yesterday, right? So when time after time you see this modus operandi that the city has, and then the mayor wants to, well, just be quiet, right? You don't know the facts, right? We'll say, well, let's dissect this. Let's look at the facts then. And you're absolutely right. If the law department did not brief the mayor on this matter, right? And she, as a former prosecutor and now mayor of the city, should know this. Very problematic if the law department did not brief her about this. But again, if she now is saying now, and again, and I gotta review and I will look at the press conference very carefully because, as an attorney, I think she's very careful in the language and what she says. But if now that she's saying that she was actually informed at some point in November, right? And maybe for whatever reason, she didn't take action. Now what is problematic is that she is not being truthful about her knowing or not. I mean, that's a fundamental question here. How much did the mayor know? And she said it publicly that she found out in the media. Now she's saying that perhaps there was a meeting in November. Again, this is a fundamental way for us to make sure that this never happens again. You know, we started with Laquan McDonald. People in Chicago has been fed up, say, look, this can never happen again. You know, cover-ups or of this kind of deception to the public. And now we see a case like this. Now, if the mayor of the city of Chicago has not been honest with the public, and she has acted and instructed her law department to act and to solve, as she has said in her own words, this case, then that's not what she said yesterday. And I think that we have to hold the public officials accountable to their word and their actions. And you're right. If the law department that's how they do it, then she has to be honest and say that she was the one instructing this or not. And I think that's what we're calling on a public hearing, because the public needs to know what was the approach of the mayor of the city of Chicago, because ultimately the bucket stops with her. She is the one who has to make these decisions. And if she didn't know, or did she know, I think both are very problematic, but I do think the public deserves to know the truth.
No, the reality is when you're a corporate lawyer defending your client who's been accused of something wrong, you have to harden your heart to the accusation that's made. You have to tell yourself, I don't care. My job is to protect the pocketbook of my client. And that's what Lori Lightfoot's law department was acting as. But as mayor of the city of Chicago, as the mayor who ran on a platform, Byron, of cracking down on police abuse, she has to at least pretend that she cares. If the police raid the wrong house, handcuff a naked woman, keep her handcuffed even after it becomes obvious that they've raided the wrong house. Okay, so it's a conflict. She has to, one, have a hard heart to what went down so that she can minimize the amount of money that the city pays, and two, she has to at least pretend she cares. It took her like 2 days before she got to the pretend she cares part. Do you get what I'm saying?
That's right. It took her 2 days. I mean, honestly, for someone who apparently knows the facts very well, according to her, it took her quite a bit of time. But I think, to your point, I do think that what I think to us is a much better solution. And I think that for those who really are trying to honor their campaign promises, is that we need police accountability. We need a bill on police accountability. We need changes. These FOIA fights, and we saw the same thing under the Laquan McDonald case, they have to be eliminated. We cannot continue. Apparently now, after 2 days, I think she's starting to get the message that these kind of FOIA fights of people who have been victims of this kind of shameful tactics and practices have to be disclosed to the public so that this doesn't happen again. But we do need a police accountability bill. We need that, the Civilian Police Accountability Council ordinance to be in committee, and to have a hearing on this matter will be important for the people of Chicago to guarantee that this will never happen again. I mean, this could be anybody. It could happen to anyone. And, we cannot allow, communities to have this kind of traumatic. I mean, we have enough issues, to see something like this. I mean, to me, it was unacceptable. It was really heartbreaking. I mean, just when I saw it and the dismissal in the council on the floor, to me, is just something we just cannot accept.
Now, Byron, I have to ask you this. This is not the first time you've borne the brunt of the mayor's wrath. And actually, you were on the show when we were actually in the studio pre-pandemic. I remember literally right after another one of these incidents, you by chance happened to be on the show. So what's it like, to be an alderman and the mayor of Chicago turns on you that way? What's going through your head? What are you thinking? Like, what's the appropriate response? What's going on internally when you're confronting that in a moment that's being recorded for everybody to see?
I think, in my mind always, is what is the right thing to do in this situation? What are our constituents, and then, that we represent the people who represent people who trusted us in this position to do the right thing, to speak the truth, to speak on the issues that affect them. And to me, that was, important, that every time that, and I heard, everybody that I knew was asking about this case. So when it came to the floor, and again, the item wasn't on the agenda, I think the mayor in a way after, again, when turns into an alderman for having a different opinion, I think she made it an agenda item. And I think it was important for us to represent what everybody wanted to ask. And I think we've seen that this is not the first time we were in a disagreement, like you said, in, the landmark, the landmark was another issue where we disagree. And, another thing that, because, she doesn't see an issue with displacement despite the rhetoric. She was the same mayor that was, early last year recruiting developers in New York, asking them to come to our communities, and then basically when she was asked and confronted by a reporter, about, the issues that we have in the community, and how people in Pilsen, for instance, will react, these are comments that she has made. Mayor Lightfoot has said, that communities like Pilsen, this is public record. There are communities that nobody wanted to be around only 10 years ago, and that now, she's working to make them better. That to me is insulting. To me, was wrong. So, and then when I challenged those remarks, because I run in that campaign to make sure that we have, a different approach. We have 23 years of corruption using the same excuses, and then, I have to justify the same thing just because the mayor of the city, believes in that. No, I represent my constituents. So when I, and I have commented back, because I think that's the right thing to do, represent the best interests of my constituents. She's the threats that we see, to the Bloc Caucus, the threats and the reaction that she sees, and the reaction to this to Ms. Young is what we continue to see. Someone who threats, who doubles down, who has who doesn't have empathy for the people who are suffering in a pandemic, who are being displaced, who are losing their homes, who are being evicted. Those are the people that we represent. So yes, to me, it's like, we cannot be afraid of this. I'm afraid of people dying. I'm scared of more of my constituents, getting sick. That I'm concerned about that. But to be afraid of someone who is trying to intimidate our community and trying to threat, it's like, look, we've seen threats of corruption, the inhumanity that we saw even in the Trump administration. We cannot, operate in fear. We operate on principle to make sure that our residents, our constituents, can have a better community for the kids, for the families, for the seniors, for the people, for the homeless people who live in our community. So that's what goes through our mind. And, I'm glad that now I see other aldermen stepping up and condemning this kind of behavior that is not new on the mayor.
Let me just say something that just occurred to me in defense of Mayor Lori Lightfoot. She's not, from time to time, she shows restraint. For instance, your colleague, Alderman Tom Tunney of the 44th Ward, who is chairman of the zoning committee, probably the third most powerful alderman in the city council. You could argue whether he has more power or Pat Dowell has more power, but whatever. One of the most powerful aldermen in the city council just revealed that he was operating an illegal cinnamon roll speakeasy from the back rooms of his restaurant on the north side of Chicago. And I just want to applaud Mayor Lori Lightfoot for showing tremendous restraint in regards to Tom Tunney. Did she threaten Tom Tunney? Did she tell Tom Tunney he was out of order? Did she tell Tom Tunney to shut up and sit down? Did she tell I know, man, he's still the chairman of the zoning committee. Yeah. He's still, you got any deal in the 25th Ward, Byron Sigcho-Lopez, any deal, you got to go to Tommy Tunney. Mm-hmm. So there's some examples, Byron, of mayoral restraint. I think you must concede that point, that every now and then, and for some reason, she really likes Tom Tunney and shows restraint, right?
Well, she seems to show a lot of restraint, with certain aldermen and in certain parts of the city. But what we have seen, that in terms of the aldermen who are represent vulnerable communities. Aldermen who represent areas who have been devastated by the pandemic, devastated by corruption, like in the case of the 25th Ward, that, we're supposed to see probably more alignment, right? If we're really talking about reform, if we're really talking about, improving the livelihood of our constituents and really have a new day, I don't know how we are out of order, but those who are not actually following their own regulations, just get really a slap on the wrist when many of us are condemned and threatened.
Yeah, Byron, Lorene told me that you had to leave at 2:30. Is that correct?
Yes, I have
I have a few. I'll ask you one last question before you go. We'll shift from the city council. I'll ask a national political question of you before you head out the door. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, Byron. And that has to do with the fact you're a socialist. You're of the leftist persuasion, much like me. I voted for Joe Biden. I don't know who you voted for, but I voted for Joe Biden. I was very happy when he was victorious. I'm still happy that he's victorious. And I'm watching with great interest the struggle in my beloved Democratic Party between lefties like myself and the more centrist types. Where will Joe Biden head? How far to the left will he go? How far to the right will he go within the Democratic Party? I have a lot of opinions on this. I know this is a topic we could talk about for a long, long time, but just preliminary thoughts from you, Byron, as we head into the Joe Biden administration. How do you think Joe Biden is handling this tensions between the left and the center in the Democratic Party?
Yeah, well, we're yet to see, right? I think it was interesting that and I think it's good that Rahm Emanuel didn't get the nomination for Secretary of Transportation. I think that, there's, of course, I think there's a model to make sure that we continue to organize so that we don't have, these neoliberal and, quite frankly, these politicians who have not done any justice to, our city. They have not done any justice to the places where they have served. So it's important that we look into the track record. I'm glad, as well as just as much as you are, that, Trump was defeated. I mean, it was a nightmare. I mean, 4 years of continuous attack to the immigrant community, the Muslim community, the Black community. I think that we had so many issues, the horrible handling the pandemic. So I think that it's important to recognize that, of course, we're glad that that's, passed, but we got to continue organizing. I do believe that the future is in organizing. I think, with Cory Bush, we see, a new wave of progressives with AOC and others who are coming and pushing back, and I do think that the extent that we can push back and at the extent that we can hold the Biden administration accountable, perhaps we have a more progressive administration. But if we all know that, and we have followed the career of Joe Biden, we know that he's a centrist. We know that he's not gonna he's not gonna change overnight. So I'm not gonna make any. I don't want to have false expectations. I believe that we need to organize to hold him accountable and actually to make sure that the Democratic Party. I mean, what we continue to see in Congress and the Senate, is concerning, right? That we're not able to put strong bills, right, that are really helping with relief, families, still have a $600 check after weeks. I mean, they're just, insulting to the working people. And I think the Democratic Party has got to do better. They got to, stand for something, or there will be, at some point, be very, very much, very hard to distinguish, between the two parties. So I do think it's important that, and I think at the extent that we are able to organize and hold people accountable, we'll be able to have Medicare for all, we'll be able to have the Green New Deal, we're able to make sure that we have $15 minimum wage, and I think that this pandemic has exposed the failures and inequality, the racism, and the many issues that we deal with, and I hope that there are leaders on the ground, and I see that people coming in. This is a time for us to get involved, people on the ground in every neighborhood, every block. I think Mayor Lightfoot is starting to see that people cannot be fooled. And I think other Democrats hopefully can see the same. The people cannot be fooled. We got to start governing with integrity. We got to start governing with principles and in the best interest of the public and not big money. Because I think there's a lot there that both parties are guilty of.
All right. That was quite a riff. People cannot be fooled. I'm going to have to think about that one, Byron Sigcho-Lopez. It seems to run counter to everything I've been led to believe, having watched Chicago politics since 1981. I think the politicians who run the city have done a very good job of fooling the people. But I'm going to be faithful that in the year 2021, for once, the people of Chicago will not be fooled. How about that, Byron?
I think the stars are aligning. So, and we got to fight on the ground.
Byron, have a great Christmas. Happy New Year. Well, I'll see you in the next year, all right?
Hope so. Take care.
All right.
Thank you again.
That's Byron Sigcho-Lopez from the 25th Ward. And good stuff from Byron. D, what you got for me? Got any updates?
BSL. Yeah, come on. Wait. Yeah, there it is.
I was waiting for the bottle. Where was the bottle, man?
A lot of people on the live stream chat just saying they're weighing in. BSL for mayor. Just saying.
He speaks from his heart. That's the thing about Byron. I've known him for a few years, and he speaks from his heart, as does his wife, Laureen Targos. I want to thank you, Laureen, for helping making that interview happen. And yes, we're going to get together in Chinatown when this pandemic ends. Remember, D, we were going to have that the show we were going to do from Chinatown, and the pandemic hit.
Yeah, I remember that.
I haven't forgotten it.
Back when the world would see Ben Joravsky. Now it's in your attic.
Okay, the world will see me, at least you and Byron and any other guest, come January 1st, when I get that new monitor. Hey, holy mackerel, no doubt about it.
Boy, the countdown to a new monitor begins on the Ben Joravsky Show. That's awesome. Hey, you want to do our new segment?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, the back half.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the one where we take a quick look and follow the media strategies of our elected leaders or those looking to get elected in Illinois. The new segment, Today in Illinois Media. Come on.
Oh, sorry.
Now, yesterday, I did not have an intro for this segment because I came up with it literally in the middle of yesterday's show when we were talking to Monroe Anderson. But hey, today I got one, all right? So let's do this. It is time for Today in Illinois Media.
Today in Illinois Media.
Right?
Oh, my God.
Oh, you like it?
Where did you get that?
I made it.
Oh, my God, it's brilliant. Vilma, I just can't thank you enough for the outstanding job our sound design department has done. Vilma, great job.
It's all me, guys. It's Thursday, December 17th, and today in Illinois social media, Alex Ben, how do I pronounce this guy's name again? Alexei what is it? Are you there? Did I hang up on you?
Alexei Giannoulis.
Oh, thank you.
I forgot to put the thing back on. Let's just take that out of the podcast.
There we go. Alexei Giannoulis.
Very good. You're
Alexei,
a fast learner.
Alexei Giannoulis. All right. Well, last week on the show, we were giving the former state treasurer a hard time. Apparently, Alexei is looking at a run for Secretary of State. We played a video from him the video's from about 10 years ago, and we couldn't help but notice on this video, my oh my, this feller sounds like a lot like Barack Obama.
In many respects, a lot of people in this country fear change. I think.
Boy, he said a lot of people in the country, real change.
Fear change.
A lot like Barack Obama, all right? But today on Twitter, Giannoulis put out a video, and this podcast producer is here for it, all right? In this minute-and-a-half spot, the former state treasurer criticizes Washington for not getting stimulus checks to struggling families and businesses. He said, American people need help. Do your job, Congress. And now the post has more than 437,000 views. Ben, will we ever see something like that? A post that has 437,000 views?
That's a lot of views.
That's a hell of a lot of views.
You got to give Giannoulis credit, man. That's a lot of views. Wow.
This guy knows how to do it here. So I have the video right here. And maybe everyone on the live stream chat, listen up here. We'll play the video. Let's give Alexei a scale of 1 to 5 here. 1 being not so much, 5 being holy crap, you sound just like Barack Obama.
Okay. All right, very good. Let's hear it.
That'll be fun, right? So we're going to play the video here. I have it right here. All right, here it is. Alexei Giannoulis. Alexei Giannoulis with his latest. All right, hit play. There we go.
I won't miss 2020. We all remember what March was like. Our favorite bars and restaurants closed up. We were forced to barricade ourselves in our homes. 6 million people filed for unemployment in a single week. That's almost 10 times as many jobless claims as the previous record almost 40 years ago. But then something miraculous happened. Congress showed some compassion for working people. Almost every American got a $1,200 check. Parents got a little help to help with their kids. Jobless workers got an extra $600 a week. In April and May, poverty actually fell despite the pandemic because our needs were being met. But then Congress forgot us and the help stopped coming. The extra unemployment assistance expired. Now, 1 in 6 Americans and 1 in 4 children are going hungry. Millions of Americans can be kicked out of their homes in the middle of winter when we're being told now is as important as ever a time to stay in your home. It's unacceptable that Congress won't pass a bill to put money in workers' pockets to help keep so many people out of poverty. Any stimulus that doesn't direct cash relief is a spit in the face to those millions of Americans that are just trying to stay afloat. The American people need help. Do your job, Congress.
Hell yeah.
Well, all right, what was I being asked to weigh? 1 to 5, 1 being he doesn't sound like Barack, 5 he does sound like Barack. That's what you literally asked me?
1 and live stream chat room weigh in as well here. 1 doesn't really sound like Barack Obama. 5, holy crap, is that Barack Obama?
All right, it's 1. It's -1.
Yeah.
He's gone the other way. 2010. Okay, let's just do a little background here on Giannoulis. He was the state treasurer when Barack Obama left the Senate to become president of the United States. Just talking about Barack Obama makes me do the Barack Obama imitation. There was an election, and he ran against Mark Kirk in 2010 and was defeated. He was a Democratic nominee, but everybody in the state of Illinois was feeling Barack Obama. And so, like, everybody, in fact, people don't know this, but if you ever heard Dennis's audition tape that he did for, this is a straight face, his audition tape that he did to get a job at WCPT, it was very Barack Obama-esque. Let's go back and rewind and listen. Reading the news. I come from Alton. I like.
How did you get my demo tape?
So anyway, everybody was feeling Barack Obama in 2010, and here we are in 2020, and Alexis Giannoulis says, I don't know, that Barack Obama's old news. I mean, it is his biography's #1 in America. It's so popular. It's probably going to outsell every single memoir that any president has ever written. So he's still very popular, and it's clearly has a strong brand. But politically speaking, I don't know how strong the brand is. Maybe it's time Giannoulis has his own identity. And I got to give him credit for this. I can see why 437,000 people have viewed it, because he is expressing sentiments that many people have, but don't usually get expressed. I mean, I think about the political discourse that has taken place in the state of Illinois, and it's muted. There's no outcry from our leaders on a consistent basis about the lack of assistance we're facing. There was no attempt, I said this yesterday, for the Mayor Lori Lightfoot or Governor Jb Pritzker to use their contacts in the corporate world to get Republicans to sign on to getting Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump to have some relief for Chicago, for Illinois, and for the residents of this state. No, the Republican Party in Illinois completely ignored the pain that people were facing because the economy was shut down. If anything, they try to blame it all on Democrats who put in protocols that hurt the economy, wouldn't allow restaurants to open for indoor dining. So what the Republicans did was defy those rules, even though it could lead to people getting the virus. So they attacked the Jb Pritzkers of the world for trying to protect the public health and did nothing to try to get the Mitch McConnells of the world, the Donald Trumps of the world to offer up some assistance. And the Democrats are so muted and so distracted. The legislators aren't even meeting. How bizarre is that? Well, they can't meet. Okay, meet virtually. No, the Pat Whalen law that we call on the Ben Joravsky show is Pat was the one who pointed it out to us. They're not allowed to meet virtually. And when they had an attempt to pass a new law that would enable them to meet virtually, it was defeated in the House. So they're not even meeting. They're not even organized. The Democrats are in disarray. Their leader of the Democratic Party in the state of Illinois, Michael Joseph Madigan, is up to his eyeballs in a corruption scandal. Many of one of his top cronies, Michael McClain, has already been indicted. He denies any wrongdoing, Michael Joseph Madigan, but nobody believes him. Everybody believes he knew what was going on. So, the Republicans are attacking the Democrats because of Madigan. 19 Democrats in the legislature say Madigan can go. The rest of them are standing behind Madigan. Where's the organized, cohesive message coming from the Democratic Party regarding the need to help people in Illinois? There is none. Lori Lightfoot spends most of her time fighting with lefty aldermen in the Chicago Teachers Union. She hates lefties. That's something that our centrist mayors have in common. They can't stand lefties. There's no concerted effort between Lori Lightfoot and Jb Pritzker and Jim Durkin. How about Jim Durkin? Where's he? The Republican leader of the House. Where's Big Feller, DB, Darren Bailey? Where's Rod Blagojevich, who's now the new voice of the Republican Party? None of them are anywhere. So yeah, Alexi's tapping into something. We have been ignored in the state of Illinois. Washington doesn't care about us. The Trump, McConnell, Republicans, they just wrote us off because we're a blue state. What do they care? Trump made it clear. He doesn't care what happens to people who live in blue states. Fires raging in California, he doesn't care. Hurricane hits Puerto Rico, he doesn't care. So if Illinois is decimated by the pandemic, he doesn't care. He blames it on Pritzker. And Darren Bailey agrees. And Durkin's too afraid to say anything. He's hiding under his table. And the Tribune's worthless. Editorial Voice, the most prominent newspaper in Chicago, they're nowhere to be found. Civic community's nowhere to be found. So yeah, Alexi's speaking up. He's articulating a frustration that a lot of people have. Is it legitimate? Does he actually feel it in his heart? I don't know. Alexi Giannoulis is in the unfortunate position that he's following Lori Lightfoot, in my mind anyway. Remember Lori Lightfoot coming to the hideout, D? Telling me exactly what I wanted to hear?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, Ben was fooled. Ben was as dumb as any MAGA voter in Michigan. Huh, sounds good to me. Kyle, you got it right, man. I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. And now here we are. I will lock you up. Take your car. But where is that voice when we need it? In unity with all the leaders of Illinois, demanding that Washington care about the people of Illinois. Nowhere to be found. Democrats are fighting among themselves. Republicans are trying to take advantage of it so they can seize control of the state house and decimate unions with their anti-union legislation. And Lori Lightfoot's so busy fighting the Chicago Teachers Union because she's got this thing about Stacey Davis Gates that I will never understand. So yeah, Alexi's on to something, D. Our leaders have abandoned us in this moment. They're nowhere to be found. They're not working in conjunction with one another. They're at each other's throats. Within the Democratic Party, the left is fighting the center. The center is fighting the left. Nobody can agree on Michael Joseph Madigan. The Black Caucus, the Black Legislative Caucus, which should be leading the way, has fallen in with Madigan. I agree with Mays Jackson on this one. Mays was on the show yesterday talking about this. I agree with him. I wish the Black Legislative Caucus had told Michael Madigan, Mr. Madigan, it's time for you to go. We're not supporting you. I wish they had done that. They got the votes to guarantee that one of their members is the next speaker. Why they're tying themselves to Madigan, I do not know. But that's our state right now, D. So Alexi, he tapped into something there. He really did. So I'm not surprised he has so many views, D.
All right. Oh, Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot would like to weigh in on the comments you had there earlier. Mayor Lightfoot, yes.
We will shut you down. We will cite you.
Oh, my.
And if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail.
Unless you're Tom Tunney. And then Sure, be zoning chair for all. Yeah, run an illegal cinnamon roll speakeasy, but you still get to be zoning chair.
And, maybe the Black Caucus did try to bring that up to Madigan, but he's such a political know-it-all, and, he just knows how to talk to people. Maybe he was like, you're getting very sleepy. Listen, here's what you do.
Hey, they're hypnotized. Whoa. I entered this room wanting to tell Madigan he was through, but now you're right. I love you, Michael Joseph Madigan. I will support you.
At the snap of my finger, you'll go get me an apple. Go.
Oh, God. That's a good one, D.
Oh, by the way, that was today in Illinois media.
Today in Illinois media.
All right.
Oh, boy, I'll tell you what. We spare no expenses. No expenses spared in the Joravsky Show.
All right, live stream chat room. How we doing here? Everybody's doing good. Oh, Jay Marie wanted to let us know. Yeah, we're still pronouncing that dude's last name wrong.
Forget it. I quit. That's it.
Gnulius. Not Janulius, Gunulius.
I don't know. Now, come on.
All right, well, what is this? What is this, the Ganulius show? No, come on.
Come on. Come on.
All right.
Like people come on, they summon Joravsky, Jaworski. He got to roll with the punches. But Mace Jackson yesterday, did he get it right? I can't remember. I think Mace got it right. But, whatever.
I'm called Dr. Doobie on this thing, all right?
But at least I pronounce Doobie correctly. You have to give me that. I don't say Dubai.
One more story here to talk about. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and Brett Chase. Mayor Lori Lightfoot's administration denied to federal investigators that it helped General Iron's owner relocate its car shredding operation to the southeast side from Lincoln Park, despite a previous agreement to assist in the company's expeditious transition to the new location. Ben, I know you've talked about this story from time to time here. The letter, dated Tuesday, defends the city's actions as HUD officials continue their investigation into whether the Lightfoot administration violated Southeast Side residents' civil rights by helping to move a polluting nuisance to their Latino-majority neighborhood to make way for a $6 billion residential and retail development in the mostly white, affluent Lincoln Park. The new facility being built at East 116th along Calumet River still needs a final permit to operate. I was going to pause it there. Ben, any thoughts?
Yeah, we could go. We should have a special show on this one. The $6 billion development that Dennis alluded to was, of course, Lincoln Yards. Listen, that whole section of Chicago along the Chicago River, just right at Lincoln, roughly Lincoln Park, that has been ripe for development, upscale development, for the last 30 years. And so the city of Chicago, it started with Mayor Rahm, decided they were just going to move out all the industry that had been there forever, move it somewhere else, get rid of it, and allow the land to be developed by really well-connected, powerful developers into an upscale community. Now, that development has been, more or less put on hold by the pandemic. It's not unclear what the market is in Chicago. There's so much uncertainty out there. We should have David Roeder come back on the show and do a deep dive on about where the market is right now. There was such great growth all throughout the Gold Coast and moving west in Chicago, and it's been halted by the pandemic. We used to see that all the time when we would go to the Sun-Times office. It just seemed like there were skyscrapers going up every day. And the Fulton Street area. So they had to get rid of General Iron and move it down. Well, say, put it on the southeast side. They don't care. People on the southeast side said, wait a minute. We don't want this shredding operation. If it's not good enough for the north side, why do you think it's good enough for us? Well, guys, I hate to break it to you, but the reality is, in the city of Chicago, is they don't really care what you think. I'm just saying. It's like, yeah, they didn't think it was good enough for the north side. So where do they put it? They put it on the south side. Same thing happened with the trucks. Remember the garbage truck, the city lot, across the street from the hideout? For years, it was right there, across the street from the city hideout, across the street from the hideout. Garbage trucks. You go to the hideout for First Tuesday, you can see the garbage trucks, you can smell the garbage trucks. City of Chicago said, no, this ain't going to work. No, negatory. We want to develop this for upscale rich people and upscale rich developers, so we'll just move the garbage trucks to the south side. Get people on the south side, tell them, hey, jobs are coming. And Mayor Ron had a press release. Good news, south side. You're getting the garbage trucks. Meanwhile, what he didn't have the press conference say is in the north side is getting the upscale development, which is being subsidized with TIFs, which raise your property taxes. But we're going to tell you it doesn't raise your property taxes. So, D, that's called development in the city of Chicago. It's called economic development in the city of Chicago. The north side gets the upscale development, and the south side gets the shredder and the garbage trucks. Okay? That's how it goes in Chicago, D. Come on. What do you think this is? A democracy?
What do you think this is? Democracy? Come on.
It's I was going to say a Lori Lightfootocracy. That's what we live in, the Lori Lightfootocracy. I just made that up.
That's good. I like it. Well, we have some developments in our question that we asked the live stream chat room. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not so much and 5, holy crap, is that Barack Obama? How much did Alexei, how do you pronounce it again, J. Marie? Let me try it again here. Ganulius. How much did that? Oh, my goodness. My phone's ringing. What a show today.
We'll just take that out then.
Guys, I run the entire show through one laptop and my phone, all right? So this is going to happen from time to time, okay, guys? No, the WCPT days are gone. No big, giant equipment, all right? But no, on a scale of 1 to 5, how much did that guy sound like Barack Obama? Steven on the live stream chat says 0 because he's a loser. Okay, well.
Come on, Steven. That's so unnecessary.
And J. Marie said a 2.
The thing is, if you listen to the original 2010 Giannoulis when he was really feeling his Barack, then he sounds like Barack. I think everybody was sounding like Barack back then, but things changed. Now they're all going to sound like Joe Biden. You watch Julian Lewis's next commercial. Play the radio. Words. Kids.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Julian Lewis. I like pudding. Okay, pudding. Cool.
Yeah. Pudding. Banana pudding.
Who said that? Oh, man, this Giannoulis is on fire.
Yeah, I think that's the direction he's heading. I can just see his political consultants. Alexei, I think he should head in Biden country. Yeah, Biden's the new thing. All right. Hey. What?
What? Oh. Old Country Buffet. I'm in. All right. Remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows, Benny J bonus interviews, and so much more at the Chicago Reader website, chicagoreader.com, or wherever else you download your favorite podcasts. All right. And you can send us an email always, bennyjshow@gmail.com, BENNY, the letter J, show @gmail.com. Find us on social media at Benny J Show. You can leave us a voicemail. We're going to keep doing Bulls trivia. I don't know. It was a little rough. We'll figure it out. Call us up, 7086.
Wait, what was unrough about it? I was right. I was 2 for 2 on that Bulls trivia.
No, it turns out I wasn't going to say anything, but Jim said both your answers were wrong. He came back and said they were both false.
Well, I think I thought the first one might be wrong because I thought like Paxson led the Bulls in scoring in Game 5 of LA, but then that thing was a trick one. Jim, I'm just saying. Are you sure you're not an attorney? I mean, nailing me like, well, Ben, actually, Scottie Pippen was the last to be introduced. Yeah, when Jordan wasn't on the team. Oh, come on, Ben, that's a technicality.
See what I mean? A little rough. We got to figure out the process of how this Bulls trivia thing's going to work. We'll get there.
Bulls trivia. I like it.
Call us up, 708-658-4788. That number again, 708-658-4788. We would love to hear from you. And hey, if you listen on the download, we'd love for you to join us on the live stream sometime, Tuesdays through Fridays, 1 until 3 p.m. Central Time at the Chicago Reader YouTube channel. Join Stephen, Frank, Jeff, Jim, Brianna, J. Marie, and the rest of the gang on the Ben Joravsky Show live stream chat. We'd love to hear from you as well.
I want to thank Byron Sigcho-Lopez, the Alderman of the 25th Ward, for coming on the show, and he did a great job. And of course, I want to thank the man, the myth, the legend, the pride of joy of all Illinois, without whom the show is possible. And as Byron will tell you, as Lori Lightfoot will tell you, as they will tell you in unison, in concert, because it's the one thing they agree on. Back home and on, they call him Dr. D. Give yourself a raise, take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everyone.
We will shut you down. We will shut you down. We will shut you down. We will cite you. And if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail.
When your upgrade cycle gets renewed, and your old technology in your company no longer fits the needs of your employees, you can donate it.
We will shut you down. We will shut you down. We will shut you down.